ConocoPhillips says it needs more time to perfect the apology part, but one presumes it's had already a couple of weeks to do just that. Yuli joining us here in our studio, thanks for that. Well, over the past 2 months, ConocoPhillips has given no firm timeline for when that cleanup will be finished. And now the Chinese government and public are demanding an apology for what it says are its ineffective cleanup efforts.
Reports about the oil leak first appeared online in mid-June, but ConocoPhillips did not answer the media's request for comment. On July the 5th, the State Oceanic Administration confirmed an oil leak from Platform B and C of the Penglai 19-3 oil rig, affecting an area of 158 square kilometers. In response, ConocoPhillips held a press conference in Beijing to address the incident. They claimed the leak had been contained and there will be no further problems. After easing the public's fears, on July the 13th, the State Oceanic Administration announced further leaks were still possible. Shortly after, the company invited reporters out to the rig, but reporters were only allowed to see one platform and had to leave quickly. The company wouldn't offer any further comment except for promising there would be no further leaks. Then, at the end of July, another leak was found on Platform B and C by authorities. The State Oceanic Administration appears fed up and has urged ConocoPhillips to complete the cleanup before August the 31st. Wu Haojun, CCTV.
Well, for more on the oil leak, we're joined now by Ma Jun. He's director of the Institute of Public and Environmental Affairs here in Beijing. Mr. Ma, thanks for being with us. Let's cast our mind back to July 6th when ConocoPhillips first promised that there'll be no further leaks. But just days later, another leak was discovered by authorities here. Can you shed some light on the conduct of ConocoPhillips? Is this a case of a lack of transparency or just a misunderstanding?
Yeah, I think it's the whole lack of transparency and lack of proactive action that have its pretty deep-founded reasons. I think there are several reasons. One of that is ConocoPhillips keep trying to accuse the natural seeps for of this oil spill. So it tries to use this as an excuse. Actually, this oil spill is caused by its own operation, but it keeps trying to say that it's caused by this natural crack on the seabed. So it doesn't want to take very proactive actions. I think one of the reasons is that it tries to avoid taking the responsibility. And secondly, ConocoPhillips is quite familiar with the laws and policies in China. Obviously, it understands that the failure to block the such an oil spill or the kind of a lack of transparency would not lead to any serious penalty fine.
Well, the Chinese government is very clear. It says it wants ConocoPhillips to clean up its mess. But as we heard just there from our reporter, there's no threat of any penalty or any punishment to enforce those words. Now, facing growing pollution from the oil leak, what should and what can China do next, both in dealing with ConocoPhillips, but more importantly in resolving the larger environmental fallout?
Yeah, I think this is not just the kind of gap. You know, it doesn't just demonstrate the gap of this one single case. It actually reflects the real big gap in our environmental governance. I think overall, our enforcement of laws and regulations remains to be very weak, and the cost of violation remains to be very low. This time, we understand that the maximum penalty fine that can be imposed on ConocoPhillips is only 200,000 RMB yuan. That's nothing to such a kind of a giant company. So I think we need to enhance our enforcement. The government needs to do more. But in the meantime, we need to open channels for other stakeholders to join. In the U.S.-Mexico oil spill, we can see that the Congress, intervened, summoned the head of BP to come to testify. And made a lot of pressure on him. And also the court system plays its role. Media and public and NGOs also plays active roles. So I think all this, I think we need to open all these channels so that the Chinese society could come together to pressure them to change behavior.
Ma Jun joining us here over in Beijing. Thanks for your insight. Now, oil spillage from that platform in the Bohai Bay has led to widening oil slicks and harm to the marine ecology. While some have blamed the lack of regulations for the slow response from ConocoPhillips, others argue that poor enforcement of existing rules might actually have been the catalyst. Zhang Nini finds out.
The slick is widening, exacerbating the fragile ecological balance in Bohai Bay. Pollutants from the oil spill have been found spreading to beaches in northern Hebei province and northeastern Liaoning province, which have been blamed for losses in local tourism revenues and the aquatic farming industry. Working in the Center for Legal Assistance for Pollution Victims, Liu Xiang has dealt with environmental cases since 1999. He believes the crucial step before claiming compensation or imposing fines is to gather evidence, but little progress has been made in this regard.
We are lagging behind in collecting evidence from the oil spillage. It should be a thorough assessment of the marine ecology rather than releasing some figures from the water sample. The evidence also helps determine the amount of fines. Meanwhile, we also call for more transparency in this process.
According to China's Marine Environmental Protection Law, the initial administrative fine was estimated to be about 200,000 yuan, though the State Oceanic Administration predicts the compensation will be far higher. Professor Cao Mingde believes the base amount is too small and won't make up for the long-term damage caused by the leak.
The compensation should cover the cost of cleaning up and prevention measures, the damages to the marine ecosystem, the losses of local residents, and the cost of the investigation. Furthermore, criminal liability is also applicable.
Even though the final compensations and fines have not been settled yet, one thing is clear, that the leak from the ConocoPhillips oil field has caused irretrievable damage to the marine ecology, and it will soon, or in some places already has, begin to threaten people's lives and livelihoods. Zhang Nini, CCTV, Beijing.
Let's turn now to the tracks. The Ministry of Railways is going to massively reduce the speed of its rail system. A new train schedule will formally start at midnight on August 16th. At the same time, ticket fares will go down by 5% on average. According to the latest bullet train schedule, services between Beijing and Tianjin, as well as Shanghai and Hangzhou, will have their speeds reduced to 300 kilometers per hour from 350. Now, other lines that usually travel at 250 will be reduced to 200 kilometers an hour. Meanwhile, high-speed freight rail will be reduced to 160 from 200. The speed of the bullet trains between Beijing and Shanghai will stay the same, but 22 departures will be cut out of the timetable. The ministry has also added regular speed train services between Beijing and Shanghai starting on September 1st. Let's take a closer look at that. 54 bullet trains operating on the Beijing-Shanghai line have been recalled because of safety concerns. A spokesman for the company that manufactures the trains has explained the reasons behind the surprise move.
This voluntary recall is a precautionary measure. We uncovered potential flaws and quality issues on some of our models operating on the Beijing-Shanghai high-speed railway line. These include false alarms and, in some cases, even the loss of power. China CNR announced the recall earlier this week. It involves 54 CNR 380BL bullet trains, considered to be the most advanced models currently running in China. Concerning the potential problems, part of the reason is the quality of some components provided by contractors. These include domestic and overseas companies. In order to fix the problem, China CNR is currently in talks with these contractors. The recall doesn't only concern the Beijing-Shanghai line. China CNR will recall all 380BL trains operating across China. It may take some time to fix, but safety is our top priority.
And a quick story here. A magnitude 5.8 earthquake has hit Kashgar up in northwest Xinjiang Uyghur region. It happened at around 6 p.m. Thursday local time. The epicenter was 200 kilometers away from Kashgar. It injured at least 21 people and toppled almost 150 homes. No deaths have been reported. The operation of 2 passenger trains was suspended because of the quake, which damaged railway lines and bridges in the region, according to officials there in Urumqi. Still ahead here on China 24, we'll be back with Feeling the Ripples. The economy is set to slow down as it feels the impact of the US and Euro debt crises. And some sports news, 12,000 athletes descend on Shenzhen as the 2012 Universiade finally gets underway.